Going to go for two here.
He's going for two.
If you don't make this, you lose. If you make it, you're in a position to win.
Got him! One-handed catch as he goes up and gets it.
Going to go for two here. Go for two here.
Got him! One-handed catch as he goes up and gets it.
All right, welcome in, guys. We made it through wildcard weekend, sort of. The first question I want to ask you guys, because I was thinking it by the time I got halfway through Sunday. Do you guys feel like 6 games on wildcard weekend was too much?
Yeah, I was tired right after the Titans game. I was incredibly tired. I was done with football. Didn't want to watch it. It wasn't just because they lost. It was just because I had had enough. I'd watched every game and made sure to soak it all in, and that's just a lot of games, man.
Yeah, for me, like we were the late game on the Saturday, and by the time it came around, I was like, I haven't left my couch in 7 hours, which isn't like.
Right.
First off, we all know my bedtime's 9:30, so we can just start with that.
Right.
So like it was like I got to halftime, and I was like, I gotta muscle this bad boy out still.
Yeah. So
like this week coming up, we're starting at 6:40, which is very nice of them to do for my lifestyle. But yeah, man, like it was hard for me to stay invested. And then when we got to like the Sunday night game, like I told Shay, like I went to bed at halftime. I was doing my favor. It almost worked.
Almost,
Yeah.
yeah, a good chance.
But yeah, no, I got to that point. I was like, once the lead happened, it was like 35. I'm like, forget this. Like I'm going to bed, man. Like I'm done with football this weekend.
Yeah.
Is this us just showing our age, or was it actually just that grueling of a task to watch that many games? It felt like.
I think that there's a lot of factors that go into it. I mean, the fact that there's no crowd doesn't make it feel like it doesn't make it feel like playoff football. Also, I mean, I can't think of like a wild card weekend where I didn't hang out with somebody and watching it with them, and maybe you stay a little bit more engaged in the games while you're talking to people about the games. And I mean, I'm not going to say that maybe the players didn't show up on Sunday night because of that reason, because I doubt it, but. Yeah, I don't know. For me, it was too much, and like I love football. It was even to the point where I felt like it was almost a chore to watch the game last night, the national championship.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I did because I bet on it, but but yeah, I mean, by the time it got like I was watching the pregame show, I'm like, can we just start this friggin' thing? Like, come on, let's go on with the show.
One thing that I definitely learned out of that this weekend was that Saturday nights for me are not meant for the NFL. They are definitely meant for a really good college football game to be on and not for an NFL game to be on. It's just different types or different styles of football that are played. And I think that like watching that usually aired out attack that you're going to see in college on a Saturday night game, it really kind of preps you for all the chess match you're going to see through a Sunday. And especially the playoffs, man, like there was real chess matches going on, right?
What I found, I was hard to keep like I was mentally drained by the end because every game like you were so invested into watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you watch football on a regular Sunday, like we all have multiple things going. Like I have a TV going, I have a computer going. Kaylin, you have 3 screens going. Shane, you always have your 2. So it's like you always have the game that you're watching, but like your mind's still going other places and checking. Like you're never like 100% fully invested into one thing. But when you're watching 6 games and like only one's on at a time, you're still mentally into that one game. So by the time like that's done, there's no like time to reload to get ready for that next game.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like I found like by that point, like so like by the night games, it's like I've just spent 7 hours staring at my TV and I've done nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
So like for me, that was the hardest part is like you're so invested, but by the end you're just like, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
anybody, I was gonna say, anybody listening, like we do enjoy football and we do talk about sports. I know it sounds like we don't right now, but we absolutely do.
And I know we don't want to recap all the games because there were just a hell of a lot of them. But Buffalo winning. I mean, the last time they won, it was Windows 95 was being run, right? Like Amazon wasn't around. What an awesome story for them. It certainly helped for me that they beat the Colts. That's always going to feel good. But I might be on the Bills bandwagon right now, boys.
Shane, you called that. Shane called that.
I texted Chad the other day and told him that this was going to happen.
Really? Well, it's not often I cheer for another team in the AFC, I got to be honest, but something about Josh Allen and again them beating the Colts in the first round and Phillip Rivers too. Like I'm just that guy. It's great. They got me, I think.
You love it, yeah. As soon as everything went down on Sunday afternoon, Chad's like, you think he's gonna be pissed on the show? This was before anything happened to me. I was still an innocent bystander at the time, and I was like, no, he's gonna be a bandwagon guy. He's gonna have a Josh Allen jersey on or something like that.
I honestly messaged a couple friends looking for Bill's gear. I'm not even gonna lie. I was gonna wear it for the show.
Amazing. But yeah, I mean, now that we're talking about the Bills, we're talking about we're talking about who's moving on to divisional. Give me a team that you guys think has a chance to upset this weekend.
I don't even know. Is any game going to be an upset? You know what I mean? Like, it seems like everybody's playing fucking well, right? Who's over there in the end? Who's the end of the matchups? You got LA versus who again?
Green Bay.
Oh,
number one offense versus the number one defense.
You know, that might be it. If we're going to call an upset, I mean, a lower seed player or team, I mean, Jalen Ramsey is going to have to prove himself this game. He proved himself against DK 3 times now, going up against arguably the best or second best receiver in the league right now. He's got a lot to show.
So you guys are right. This was you, Shane, that said the Rams for the upset. You called it for Liam's. That's Liam's new team, his first team ever. So I shouldn't say a new team. It was his first team ever. He chose the Rams.
Yep.
So he's not a bandwagon fan because he didn't know other teams were around.
He did it earlier in the season too, but like long before they got on a decent run. So
he missed some really bad years, eh?
But before I jump into my pick, I want to tell everybody, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click on the link, make sure it happens. So yeah, we're growing right now really fast, guys, and we appreciate everything you do. But yeah, make sure you subscribe to us. Now after that, though, I'm going to say, I think Tampa can do enough to upset this week. Yeah, even my dryer agrees with me.
was that as in like incorrect?
Yeah,
was that
I think it was like that timing could not have been any better for the show. Worse for me.
Oh my god.
But yeah, no, I think Tampa can do enough to beat the Saints. We just have to get after Drew. He's not mobile. He gets rid of the ball very quickly. So we just gotta get our hands up. Similar to what happened like with Pittsburgh. Like Cleveland didn't get to Ben. They just didn't let him throw the ball. The lanes were gone. And that's kind of what we have to do. And like Drew Brees' release point is so low. Just knock those balls down. Like got to get hands on Michael Thomas. Like the biggest question mark is, can we stop Michael Thomas? But I think you can't run the ball on us. That's a fact. No one can run the ball on us. And I think our linebackers are fast enough to go with Alvin Kamara.
And you're going to get Devin White back, right? Devin White's back.
We got Devin White's back, and we have Levante David there. So we have the backers that can play with Kamara. So I think we can pull the upset out this week. I know people don't think we have a time. It's literally the 2 oldest men ever playing football at quarterback this weekend. I don't know how they got the night game. I don't know how they're both going to stay up that late. But yeah, no, I think Tampa can do enough to pull the upset out this week.
Yeah, I think that they moved that game to 6:40 from 8:30 just because of those 2 guys. But it's between those 2 guys and Chad. But for me, and this is going to surprise people. I'm going to tell you that I think that the Brownies are the Tennessee Titans of last year, and they can run the ball. They do suck on defense. They gave up 500 yards to Roethlisberger. Those were legit 500 yards. But they're going to get some guys back in the secondary. And for some reason, because it's 2021 and it's, as Chad pointed out on our Instagram story, it's the sequel to 2020. And it's taking advantage of it. The Browns are going to be playing Baltimore the Browns are going to be playing the Bills in the AFC Championship game in 2021.
Oh my God. I cannot believe I'm hearing this, Shane. I think I've said this a couple times earlier this season. You have never, ever really said anything positive about the Browns, ever.
They never gave us anything to talk about.
Well, even when other people got on the wagon, you really had nothing good to say about them. Even when, Derek Anderson had a decent year there, you were giving him no props. But wow, that's incredible that you would say that you picked the Browns. I don't hate the pick. I think that they could be a feel-good story, and they have just enough defense and a great run game to get there. But they're going to run into a buzzsaw, I think, if they make it against the Bills.
What's his face? Kareem Hunt has proven that he doesn't mind kicking through hallways to get done what he needs to get done. And that guy, it's revenge game time for him.
Now, I'm going to go a little off kilter here.
Keep in mind, I don't condone men hitting women, just so you know. But the low-hanging fruit was there.
Good. I a little off base here. I wanted to ask you just quickly. No, don't go right into it. Is Big Ben retiring this year?
No.
No. So
Actually, I'm going to go even one further and tell you that they're going to extend his contract for cap reasons.
Ooh, Jesus. Okay. So I when I saw him crying with Pouncey, I didn't know. I think Pouncey's retiring, but I thought
sure
that Ben
he
would
is.
probably potentially go out with him at the same time. But then the reason I'm leaning into that question is because we're talking about old man Drew Brees. I think we've all kind of come to the conclusion this is probably his last go round, right? There'll be last go round, and I think at that, what an end of an era. If we do lose Ben this year and we lose Brees at the same time, how crazy would that be? I was talking to a young kid at work today who's only just watched football in the last little bit, but Ben is the last remaining player in Brees that I can think of, like when I was young, really diving into football. And when those guys retire, like there's no ties for me back when I was a kid anymore. It's strange.
Tom Brady. The guy's going to play till he's 90.
Yeah,
But yeah, I hear what you're
always
saying.
going to be there. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
crazy.
Rivers could be gone this year too.
Oh, Rivers is gone. That limp arm, I think it showed in the cold. I'm surprised they didn't bring in Jacoby for the final throw.
Yeah, I mean, for a guy like Roethlisberger, and like we could talk about different guys, like the reason for Drew Brees is leaving is he's going to go and be on TV. A guy like Ben Roethlisberger is our version, like our era's version of Brett Favre, and that guy is going to hang on to everything. He likes the attention to be on him. He he would go play on another team if he had to. Like I always thought that he would end up playing for Cincinnati or Cleveland just because those are his hometown teams. But I mean, that's never going to happen now because they don't need it. But yeah, I mean, just based on that. But what you're talking about with like younger people, and I mean, we deal with younger people all the time at work. We're apparently the old people now, our ripe age of 30. I'm 35. But,
yeah, we're the old guys.
I couldn't believe when the kid said that to me the other day. So I don't know any players from when you watched. It's like, what is that supposed to mean?
But like, think of like what's happening right now in football, and everybody wants to be Patrick Mahomes, but why does everybody hate the older quarterbacks? Like, if you've played quarterback in the NFL for 17, 18 years, you don't suck, for sure. No. And at what point, because like I actually used to hate Tom Brady. Now I just respect what he does. And it's not just because he's on Tampa Bay now, not in New England. But at what point in your fandom do you remember thinking like, oh, I actually like greatness now? Like I like watching LeBron James play basketball now. I didn't like him before.
So for me, I actually got to like physically be there at Brett Favre's last game. He was playing with the Vikings. So one of my best friends, he's a diehard Vikings fan. The second the schedule came out, they were week 17 in Detroit. And I'm like, we're going to this game. I'm like, when else am I going to see a legend from my childhood like go out his last game? We know that's it. As it goes, Brett Favre got knocked out that season, didn't finish out, but he came to the game. And so he's walking out like out of the tunnel right in front of us down across the end zone. And of course, everybody in Detroit hates former Green Bay guys, hates like Minnesota guys. It is like, and I respect that. They're booing him, like threatening him. I'm like, I'm watching this like 43-year-old man who can barely walk, like limping over, goes down. I'm like, how is no one respecting what this guy's done to his body? Like, he was the Iron Man, like for us growing up. Like he never missed a snap, I think, until that year. And so it's so like it was crazy for me, but really cool to see like the appreciation. Like I always thought Brett Favre, like I never actually thought he was a Hall of Famer. Like guy turned the ball over too much for my liking. But see the guy do it for that long was insane. And seeing him like come out, could barely even walk. It was a really surreal moment. These guys are superheroes to us, but it shows that they are human, right? And then like you see the guy barely walking. So see these guys playing at 43, 44 years old. I don't care what position it is. Like you're not going to see that stuff in another sport. You're going to appreciate it.
Yeah. For me, I think it was honestly, I was pretty fortunate because when I really got into the sport of football, Ricky, who we've had on the show a couple of times, was somebody who really got me into football. And Ricky, I mean, if you can listen to somebody speak the truth of football for a few hours, it's somebody like Rick who just likes to talk, and you can soak in a lot of what he's saying. He showed me a lot of the good things that players around the league did. Now, it took me a long time to appreciate somebody like Peyton Manning because he was in my division and beat us up all the time. But I think when I started talking about sports with like my younger relatives and started telling about the players that we watch and things like that is when I began to, how could you not respect a player like, Tom Brady, for example, or Peyton Manning and the accolades that they have and what they've been able to accomplish and sometimes in a short period of time. So yeah, I think it was once I started showing off to the younger kids what the players that we knew about, I had to brag about them, and unfortunately, I meant bragging about players that maybe I didn't like, and I had to realize I had to respect them.
Yeah, and Brett Favre, and you brought up Ricky. Like I remember being with Ricky at Fatty Patty's for wing night on that Monday night football game where Brett Favre's dad passed away, and he threw for like 4
Like 500
touchdowns,
yards.
and
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
That was
nuts.
one of the
And like,
craziest performances ever.
hmm
yeah, like I'm not gonna like blow Ricky up and say that he cried, but like I think that he wanted to cry. Like he was so emotional watching that game. But it was an
That's what I
intense game.
mean,
I
right?
mean,
Yeah. And well, that's what every sport with Rick is like that, which is awesome. But football, I was pretty green to the sport, and the guy just taught me a lot about actually appreciating what these players had to go through. It's the biggest chess match in any sport there is.
for sure. And moving on. Are you guys good? I was gonna
Oh,
move
yeah.
on because we're talking about something. I'm gonna go to the complete opposite side of the spectrum right now and say, we got to see Alabama play Ohio State yesterday,
Oof.
and it got me sitting there looking, and I was looking at it. And I'm like, is this the best college football team ever? Yeah, and I
Talking
can
about
say,
Alabama, obviously.
yeah, Alabama 2020, 2021 version. Are they like last year? I thought that LSU was probably the best college team ever. At
Well,
least, at least Joe Burrow was probably the best college player in a single season.
Sure.
But when you actually look at the Alabama schedule, they played a full SEC schedule. That will never be done again.
No.
10 SEC games.
They scored 45 points a game.
Yeah, and I they put up how many against Notre Dame, who has an incredible defense. Notre Dame's defense got better watching Alabama play Ohio State. Like everyone was like, "Oh, okay, they did know how to stop." The only stop that Ohio State had yesterday was when Mac Jones screwed up and held the ball for too long, and he fumbled. That's it.
Yeah. I think that the team is okay. When Minka Fitzpatrick was playing for Alabama, those defenses they had at those times, I think that was probably the best defenses they've ever had. I think that the reason why you could definitely make an argument for Alabama, this being the best team in football ever, or the best Alabama team at the very least, is because they finally have a quarterback too. Like all the other quarterbacks were game managing quarterbacks. They knew how to throw when they needed to sometimes, but they were running. The offense was a running style offense. You get a Heisman. You told me 8 years ago, 5 years ago, 4 years ago that Alabama's wide receiver was going to win a Heisman. Never. I would have never thought that. They always had a great running game there, had great offensive linemen, and a fantastic defense. But now having Mac Jones there, you definitely could make the argument. But I still think those years with Minka there, those defenses were just astounding.
Talking about receivers at Alabama, can we just talk about what Julio started?
Yeah,
Oh.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like that is like why like they say like there's like they call Notre Dame O-line U. Like that's we send out top tackles and guards every year. We have all pros across the whole line. Man, they send out the best receivers in the last 10 years.
And running backs, it seems
Julio.
like, right?
Well, yeah, then running
Julio's
backs,
there,
yeah.
Calvin Ridley. Yeah, Jerry Judy, Ruggs.
Jerry Judy. Yeah.
Waddle's going to be a first-round pick. Devontae Smith's probably top 6, 7 pick.
Amari Cooper was there.
Yeah,
right?
Amari Cooper was there. Yeah, like it doesn't stop.
Yeah. And I'm not to say that when I made the Heisman comment there that they don't have good wideouts. It's just that they typically don't have the stats to go with it. We can see that they're good wideouts, but the offense doesn't give them the opportunity to have 23 touchdowns and 1,800 yards like some offenses do, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and when it comes down to it, like everybody can debate the best college team of all time. Nobody can debate the best college coach of all time. And
No, yeah.
Nick Saban has 2 national championships, or 2 different teams to have national championships. He went up to 7. The way that he has this team structured is basically similar to what you were just saying. So this year they're offensive, and maybe next year they have the top recruit in quarterback. His name's Bryce Young.
You saw who their OC is now, right?
No.
Billy O'Brien, Bobby.
Oh, well,
he went down there to work with Nicky.
He's rehabilitating everything, but that defense in Alabama is young. So 2 years from now, that defense is going to be as good as any Alabama defense that they've had.
Yeah.
And then you don't need the offense. Then you don't need to score 55 points a game. But Nick Saban knows exactly what he needs to do to win games. And I don't know. I'm not one to jump on the bandwagon of a team like that. And I'm a Michigan State guy through and through. But I've watched what Nick Saban. I mean, he was from Michigan State, by the way. I've watched what he's done to Michigan State. I've watched what he's done to every kind of opponent that gets put in front of him. The only teams that have ever really stood a chance against him is the other teams in the SEC, and it's usually the teams that are
That win
coached by
national
his old
championship,
assistants.
and they're usually
Yeah,
guys that
exactly.
win the national championship that year.
Right, like LSU or Florida back in the day. But I feel like I'm starting to get that football fatigue again that we were talking about over the weekend. So why don't we take a quick break from football? We're on the eve of hockey starting.
This is fun.
Obviously, yeah. So a way different hockey year than anything we've ever experienced. Now, I'm going to ask you guys what you're excited about for the season. We don't necessarily have to go into predictions because who knows what's going to happen. They're playing 56 games. The playoffs are going to run into the summer again, which I think is cool. But the number one thing that I'm looking forward to is, not only do we have like all these great teams in the U.S., but all the Canadian teams are pretty much good, and they're all going to slug it out all year.
Yeah, it's going to be a whole lot of like this in the standings, like the whole time. It's just going to be a whole lot of movement.
And I don't like any of the Canadian teams. Like personally, I'm not like a Canadians Leafs fan. Like I hate
No,
all
we
that
get to
stuff,
be
but
bitter rivals again, you and I, right? Just keeps going. Penguins and Devils,
Yeah.
baby.
yeah, hey, keep rolling.
That's
Hopefully you don't got Scott Stevens this year. But yeah, Chad, I know you're not like a huge hockey guy, but I wanted to give you the lead because I know that you got some stuff that you want to talk about with this coming hockey season.
So the one thing you did touch on is like all the conference. Are they call them conferences or divisions?
Divisions.
Just divisions. It's cool how they're separated by regions. So that's the one nice thing. Makes it easier. But it's gonna rebuild some of those rivalries. And like what we were talking, me and Shane were talking about before, is that every time a team plays, it's like a 2-game series.
Yeah.
So literally, like you're gonna rebuild those rivalries real quick. I know, like for like up here in Canada, like you have the Leafs in Ottawa, you have the Canadians and the Leafs. Like those Calgary Edmonton games are gonna be bangers.
Yeah.
And if Kachuk goes and runs somebody, you have to see them tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
and like you said, like you brought the Flyers and the Penguins, like that's gonna be huge. Like I still remember the Rangers and the Devils back in the day, like seeing that all over again. Like that's stuff I'm looking forward to. It might bring back some of that old time hockey from when we were kids growing up. I know the game's not the same anymore, but when you got to see somebody like 2 times in a row, those things flame up real quick.
Right. Yeah, and just wait until like it gets a little bit closer to playoff time because they're not just like breaking it down by conference. It's the top 4 teams from each division are moving on. They have 4 divisions. That's it. So I mean, I think it's gonna be crazy down the stretch. But yeah, Kalen, go ahead.
Well, normally I'm incredibly optimistic when it comes to my team. Overly optimistic, some would say. But
That doesn't sound like you at all.
But the Devils are going to get absolutely slaughtered this year in that Eastern Division.
Oh, shit.
Listen, the Penguins are going to be good, but like they're going to have a rough time in that division too. There's a lot of action.
The Penguins aren't that good this year.
They're always going to be good with somebody like Sidney Crosby on the ice.
They're average.
They're not to get the playoffs. What I am looking forward to is the Rocket Richard chase, because I think that Ovi hasn't had a whole lot of people on nipping at his heels for a while. But and all my friends are going to give me a hard time for saying this, but I think Austin Matthews is the bet to win that one this year, and I think he's gonna light the lamp a lot, and I think he's gonna take Ovi by a few, like 10 goals minimum.
You don't like McKinnon over there in Colorado, eh?
I love Nathan McKinnon. I think he's one of the best 2-way players that you could possibly watch. And being in the Western Conference and on a team like Colorado, you couldn't ask for anything better. The only other team I could see him being, better suited for would be a team like Nashville, the way they play hockey there. But Nathan McKinnon's awesome. Connor McDavid, great player, obviously. But I think the plan in Toronto is to get that kid 65, 70 goals this year. It can happen. It can happen.
In 56 games, that would be nuts.
That's what I'm saying. It can happen. I don't know. There's something about this season. It's going to be wonky. I don't know if people are going to have enough time to catch their feet. The goalies are going to be overworked, I feel, especially in the Canadian divisions. There's not a lot of depth there. So I think that if you're playing against backup goalies a lot, you're going to have a chance to score.
Well, I mean, the best goalie room probably is in Ottawa now, right? They got Matt Murray there now. So.
Matt Murray, and who's the other guy there?
I don't know if it
No.
matters.
We unfortunately
Yeah.
unfortunately lost Corey Crawford to retirement, but
Yeah.
so we're going with Wedgwood and Mackenzie Blackwood. So
Can we talk about how Ottawa asked for 6,000 fans at their home games though?
interesting.
Amazing.
Pretty
And
gutsy.
like,
that
it's like the
Capital
whole-
City would
like,
pull
I
that
know-
stunt.
Like,
In
no,
a
we don't
tw-
talk about the 1-9 on this show, but come on now, guys.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean,
We're, like,
we just
we have a lot of
announced.
things going on up here. and,
Yeah, that's right. We're getting locked
we-
down again,
So-
and suddenly they want to have 6,000 fans there because they
That's
don't want to
all
go
it
out of business.
So the Canadian government was on doing their press conference on new modeling on what's going to happen if people don't follow the restrictions. As Buddy tweets this out, like this was a tweet. This wasn't like
Oh my
Like-
god!
incredibly tone deaf. And I mean, yeah, I mean, if the Ontario government said it was okay, I mean, they're not going to, but if they said it was okay, I mean, if people wanted to go there, I'm not going to judge somebody for going there because I don't care what people do with their lives.
Mhm.
But I mean, when it comes down to it, like, come on, man, like, read the room,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, I do have a question. Does this year count as a full year on the player's contract too?
Yes. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. I wonder how the trade deadline will play out as a result of that. Then what'll happen if you?
It's a little bit later this year. I think it's not even until like April or something. So
Oh
Maybe like
wow!
40,
Yeah.
40 games probably.
Maybe they'll do a
40 game
baseball
mark.
trade
so.
deadline and then a waiver wire deadline too. That'd be kinda cool.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't talked a whole lot of baseball at all on the show, but the
Well,
only
wait.
news that came out was
Yeah, trade. Yeah.
well, I mean, yeah, I mean the trade was big. The Mets are loading up. The Mets win every single offseason. The problem is they don't win in the regular season, which
Because they're
means
still
they
paying
can't make the
Homeboy for the
playoffs.
last 40 years, right?
Oh
Hey,
man,
Bobby Bo days were the greatest days of the year.
yeah. If
Like,
anybody,
it's actually,
if
it's
anybody
actually
can find a
Canada
Bobby
who's the
Bonilla,
best
yeah,
part.
yeah. If anybody can find a Bobby Bonilla jersey, we will gladly represent it on the show.
Yeah.
In fact, we might have to talk to our supplier and just get some Bobby Bo shirts made up for Canada Day this year, Chad.
That'd
There
be
we go.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like I remember last year, like I had a lot of things going on in my life around Canada Day, and I just woke up and sent Shane a text message like 7 a.m. like Happy Bo Day, Happy Bobby Bo Day. He's like, well, you just made my day better. That means you're gonna be in a good mood this afternoon.
Yeah, just outstanding. Like what a contract. And talking about contracts, we're gonna we've taken our quick little jaunt away from football for a few minutes. Now let's talk free agency because two of us are in it. Like we've moved on to the off season. I already started doing my draft prep. We are we're trying to figure out what's next. But the next big thing for us, I guess, is going to be NFL free agency.
Mhm.
So
Oh, you skipped the combine. That's like the biggest day of the year for me.
well,
I
they're
love seeing
not,
those guys
they're
running
not,
underwear.
they're not going to do it, man.
Not even forget the combine. The only thing I care about the combine is the Rich Eisen time lapse when he's racing the other
Yeah.
wide receivers.
Yeah, but I mean, like as far as the combine goes, like I agree with Chad. I think like I'm one of those degenerates that watches the underwear Olympics, no problem, and I'll always have it on. But I mean, as far as things that could be substantial, free agency is the next substantial thing because the combine only leads into the draft, and until you draft the player, you don't have. But yeah, I mean, for sure the combine's a good call.
Oh, hold on.
But when
Go over there.
when
sweetheart.
it comes
Over there.
down to it, we obviously have some flawed teams. I mean, we're not gonna hate on the Bucks right now because they're still in the playoffs, and I mean they have as good of a shot, probably the second best shot in the conference of making it to the Super Bowl, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But so maybe we'll save Chad for last. Maybe by then the Bucks will be eliminated. But
Yeah.
Kayla,
So,
you were
well-
eliminated first, so I'm gonna make you go first.
Thank you. I think the rules here, though, we have to play by is that we're not picking on anybody on our own team, right? It's got to be a complete free agent. Can't keep a franchise tag or something like that. right?
Correct.
Okay. Blatantly obvious this year through the entire year, and even worse in that playoff game. Or sorry, we actually had him in this playoff game, but we usually don't. Sacks. I need him. We need way more than we got this year. I think we're the second last or the third worst team in the league for him. So Shane, I'm sorry, I'm going to be reaching into your team's roster and I'll be plucking Bud Dupree out of there. If I can bring him down to Tennessee and he could do what he's been doing in Pittsburgh, I think we can be okay that department.
Fantastic pick as long as you have somebody to play on the other side of him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Bud Dupree is a great player. His number is going to be too high for the Steelers to even consider him, and he's coming off of an ACL injury, but he's going to be a great player. He's going to be overpaid for what you think of him because he's not necessarily like a numbers guy. He's the guy to draw the pressure so that somebody else can go over and eat. But yeah, to the vein that you're talking, we obviously obviously could not run the ball this year. Now, one of the biggest problems with that, if you look at it, is actually their play calling. So if I could get a free agent for offensive coordinator, I would, but I know that's not the game we're playing right now. So I'm gonna take the tackle from the Washington football team, Brandon Sheriff. Now,
Oh, the guard you're after, right? Is he tackle?
is he
or
a guard?
The guard,
thought he
yeah,
was a-
plays. There's a guy.
What-
He moved inside. He used to be a tackle. Yes.
Okay,
Oh, okay,
okay. So
gotcha.
he was drafted as a tackle. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. But yeah. Anyway, we need people on our offensive line. Villanueva gone. Filer gone. Pouncey seems like he's going to retire.
Mhm.
That leaves us only with two guys standing there and a 39-year-old quarterback. So,
Ooh.
so
God.
we're probably going to have to not only sign people in free agency, but like use some draft capital on it as well. So offensive line. But Chad, let's see what your fucking spoiled Bucks team needs. What?
First off, I said I was going to sit here like this today. Before we jump into what my Bucks need, we
Is
actually
DeAndre Hopkins a free agent?
Yeah, we don't need more receivers right now. We need help from our guys though. We need content writers for our website. So free agent content writers, anybody out there who has an opinion, we will definitely take articles, any sport, hockey, basketball, fighting. Like we want to hear about it from you guys. So yeah, submit your articles to the website at info4goingfor2.com. We'll edit them up and we'll get them posted and you'll get full credit for them. We're not taking credit for them. We just want more ideas to go out there and go that route. And so we're not experts at it anywhere. We admit that. Yeah. So we'll give all credit to you, and we want to post them and say thanks for supporting us, and that's our way of giving back to you guys, is giving you guys the credit for that.
Yeah, and you send us consistent content. We will make sure that you have some Going for Two swag to wear.
So now back to my Bucks. Well, my first choice got ruined last week when I found out Tom Brady had a player option and not a team option, and he decided to take his player option. So now it means we have Tom Brady next year.
Poor guy.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm probably the only guy upset about this. With all of our quarterbacks we've had in Tampa over the last 20 years, I'm upset about Tom Brady. It's a rough life.
Bruce Gradkowski, man. That's what you had at one point.
Yeah, he's
Bruce
a stud. Yeah, that guy.
And we had Jeff Garcia. And
I'm not going to say anything about the Jams,
and I had Sean King. I can play this game all fucking day.
Yeah.
We drafted Josh Freeman in the first round.
Bruce Gradkowski, and it's tough. He got Tom Brady now.
Yeah, we had the only way I can describe Josh Freeman is he couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat.
I watched him beat the Saints one game.
So yeah, no, I wanted Dak, but that's not going to happen now. I've been saying all year long to back that Brinks truck up on the Dak's front yard. We have the weapons for him.
If there's a team that can get a backup quarterback like that, it's going to be the Bucks.
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And then, but yeah, no, that's off the table. So we're in a really bad spot. Levante David and Shaq Barrett are unrestricted free agents. So both of them are gone. We can't. What we have to pay on the other side of the ball, we're not keeping those guys around.
Right.
So I was thinking Bud Dupree as well. That was my first choice, but Kalen, you did take him. So I'm going to say Melvin Ingram. I think that's a nice little choice. He can put his hand in the dirt for us as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we can find a linebacker in the draft where we are picking.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a guy with his hand in the dirt, because JPP is getting old too, right? So you have to replace that now.
And he can't put his hand in the dirt.
No, he put some 60% of his hand can be in the dirt. 60% of the hand can be in the dirt.
That's wild.
But yeah, so
that's a great
put
pick.
An edge rusher that you put his hand in the dirt, and I think that's where we're going to go, where we should go.
Yeah, and he's not just an edge rusher that is against the pass. When he puts his hand in the dirt, he can still play the run too pretty well. So yeah, great pick. Yeah.
Yeah, and while we're on free agency, we're going to move to people that are under contract now. I'm not sure if the fact that Doug Peterson being fired is going to change the situation in Philadelphia as far as quarterbacks go. I'm going to be honest. I did not think that Doug Peterson would get fired. I can't think of a coach that has been in a situation where he's been pretty winning up until this year. He won a Super Bowl. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they were in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
they were a little bit banged up this year, and somehow he's done. He's fired.
Is he okay? So, but the first reporter to talk to him after it happened, the response back from Doug was, "Don't worry, I'm good with it, or I'm at peace with it."
Do you
So,
think he wanted out?
with the rumors that started
Yeah.
weeks ago, I think that he may have wanted it. I don't think it had anything to do with what he did at the very end. Personally, what I think, I mean, I know the owner probably wanted the draft pick, but if I'm the owner and you're going out against Week 17 and an opportunity to take out a division opponent in the playoffs and you still play Sudfield, I think that was just Doug Peterson flexing a little bit, and I think that could have had something to do with it, maybe. So, where does he land? I don't know. Like, does he become a head coach right away? Because there's some spots out there, but there's a lot of great opportunity, like good coaches that are out there. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I heard the Jets are in play, but
Oh yeah.
for you, Chad, you're a quarterback. So, do you feel like losing your coach would repair the relationship? Like, put yourself in Carson Wentz's shoes. Would you feel like if your coach got let go, you'd be like, all right, well, I'm gonna go back and compete for this job, or do you know that Hurts is better than you and you need to move on?
So in Wentz's case, the one thing he has on his side is his contract. Right away, he's got that
For
backing
sure.
him. So he already has ownership's back. Has his back because they have to.
Yeah.
I think skill set wise, I think he beats out Hurts. I know he had a bad year, but fundamentally, he's better than Hurts in every category.
I agree.
He can't run the ball. Whatever, that's fine. Quarterbacks aren't supposed to. He's mobile enough to do what he has to do, and maybe this year actually kind of saved his body a bit. He didn't. They'll bench him, stop those hits happening, and I think for him, it's like new coaches coming in, and it gives him a clean shot at winning the job. They're not tied to Jalen Hurts. Like the second round pick costs you nothing.
Right.
Draft picks don't cost you money anymore. So for that, it's like if you miss, you're okay. And like you didn't bring Hurts in to start for you anyways. So I think this puts Wentz in a better spot. And if I'm Doug Peterson, the only actual like head coaching job I think I would even look at, and I can't believe I'm even going to say this, it'd probably be the Detroit Lions. Simple fact, they have a run game. Their offensive line is getting better. The defense is in shambles, which that's fine. They can draft that or they can sort that out. But you have a quarterback there, and he's a quarterback guy. And I think he wants a guy with Matt Stafford's one of the toughest guys with the biggest arms in the league, and you already have your face of the franchise. So I think that'd be a job for him. It'd be at least worth talking to. But I do think he'll end up being a coordinator somewhere probably before he gets a head coaching job. So that's kind of where I think it's at with him.
I think Philly.
I mean, go ahead.
I was gonna say I think Philly is an absolutely, on the outside looking in, an incredibly ugly position to be open right now. Sounds like nobody wants to work under that GM that's there, Howie Roseman. They have arguably one of the worst cap situations in the NFL, and he's put them in that spot. Their drafting has not been good at all. What's Wentz got around him? You know what I mean? Nothing. He's got literally got a great center. He's had offensive linemen that were hurt all year. Can't name the running back there right now offhand. Is it
Sanders?
Miles Sanders.
Miles Sanders. Yeah, who thought? I don't think he's the answer. You don't have wideouts. You got an aging Zach Ertz. It's not Wentz's fault for what happened down there. I think something has to fall on the blame has to fall on the GM. And it sounds like the GM's getting an absolute pass out of all of this. Whoever takes that team on as a coach is going to be in some trouble for some while.
Maybe he's married to Jeff Lurie's daughter.
Apparently, they're good. They're good friends. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's the son-in-law, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's true or not. No, I don't know. I'm speculating.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that's true. But yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, there is a quarterback out there that it seems like the arrow's pointing towards a new team. So you were filling us in on all the information today, Kalen, for Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
There's a crazy story going on there. I honestly, when you brought it up last week, I was like, this is a non-story. This is bullshit. Now that there's like old players from the Texans that are coming out, and they're blowing up some guy in the front office that I've never even heard of. So I have no idea who they're talking about. But,
yeah, they're talking about Cal McNair is really the owner. He's been, or not the owner. He's the CEO and CFO. He's been pretty much in charge of all hires and all that jazz. He okayed Bobby just being the GM last year. He greenlighted that. But he specifically had reached out to Deshaun early in the season after the firing of Bob and said that we were going to, take your input in, and we're going to make sure that we use that with the coach and the GM. Deshaun had given him some picks. And also, I just read this yesterday. they had spent something like $250,000 with a talent agency scouting for potential GMs to hire, and then didn't even take any of the top 3 suggestions from that firm. So they blew money to sign Nick Caserio, which we already pretty much knew they were going to do. They wanted him last year.
Right.
Deshaun's miffed now. And then Andre Johnson comes out and says that the Texans are known for wasting players' careers. And they don't make moves when it's necessary. And when they do make the move, it's absolutely an uncalculated risk. And as soon as he tweeted that, 10 minutes later, who retweets it? But DeAndre Hopkins. Like, we thought DeAndre Hopkins' beef was with Bobby. It turns out that DeAndre had a beef with the organization as well as the coach. So as a guy who's in the division, I like to see the turmoil down in Houston. They have horrible cap situation. They got no draft picks. They got a rookie GM who's got a hell of a lot of pressure on him because he's coming from the Patriots organization. And now your franchise quarterback, who's already, he really does have, doesn't have any leverage, I don't think, because you're already on a long-term contract. You know, if you don't play, you just don't get paid. That's all it is. You're signed for the next 7 years. You don't play, you don't get paid. That's it. So it doesn't have a lot of leverage, but your franchise quarterback is, he hasn't said it himself, but there's enough going around that's being said that he wants out. Where does he go? I don't know.
I saw a picture of Deshaun Watson today on a beach with a girl that doesn't look like his mind is on football right now. So I can assure you that he is not worried about where he plays next year. He has 150 million reasons to play football moving forward, and he will be on a team. I'm going to change my opinion from last week. I think it's going to be a team that's not the Texans, and we kicked it around a little bit. And I think Chad had a good idea as far as where things might happen. And I think he's going to get traded. We talked about how many picks it would take, but Chad had a good one and he posted in our group chat earlier. So we'll let him lead off.
Oh, with the Dolphins?
Yeah.
Well, that was the rumor just coming out was the Dolphins, and it brought up to us as like, well, John, it cost a fortune for the Cardinals to give up on Rosen. The Dolphins traded for him,
right?
And Josh Rosen is nowhere near what Deshaun Watson is. And Kayla, I know you said it was a rookie contract, so that was kind of like that was the value in that. But this is a top 5 quarterback in the league, so you're going to give up what you want for him, and it's going to be probably a 1 and a 4, 1 and a 5, and then a 1 and 2. Like that's the only thing that makes sense.
Right.
Like the Texans have to regain those draft picks somewhere, and there's only one person on that roster that's worth a first round pick, and there were 2 of them, and I think that is going to be him. And like they were playing their pick from the Dolphins. How much even better is that?
Yeah.
And you're getting a franchise quarterback with it back at a discounted price.
I would imagine that the Dolphins would not give up the top 5 pick.
Yeah.
They would give them the later.
20.
Yeah, and I think that in that situation, as the Dolphins, you have to assume that you took Tua at, was it 5 or they took him at 5, right? 5 or 6, whatever it was.
Yeah, 5.
So if they're not wavering away from thinking Tua as a top 5 pick, if they gave away the 5th overall pick last year, the 18th or whatever it is pick this year, and a 2nd round pick next year, is that enough to get Deshaun Watson? I guess for something like that, it's really going to depend on who the coach is and whatever decisions the Texans want to roll with. But do you think that's realistic, Caleb?
When the first report came out about the Dolphins, it was almost an immediate. That's the only thing that makes sense. There's one other team that I think could be in play, and it's only because of who the head coach is, and he's got a 10-year contract. And I think that could be Las Vegas. If Las Vegas is willing to give up on Derek Carr, if they finally say he's not the answer, I have no doubt that somebody like John Gruden can talk Mike Mayock into trading the future away in order to get a player like Deshaun Watson, to get a toy that can run the ball, be a very playmaking wide or quarterback at the same time as being a very good quarterback. And you got 8 years left on his contract, I think now, or 7 years left. This is the bold move. You're tied to this player for the rest of his contract, for the rest of your contract. That is the only other team in the AFC that I think that can make that move. In the NFC, there is a team that I think that could make that move. They're going to have to give up a lot. They do have some cap space issues, so it might be hard. But Carolina, they've got to get – Teddy is not the answer. Will Greer is not the answer. Getting a player like Deshaun Watson can jumpstart your franchise. We saw what Cam Newton did there. They're not trending upwards. They're going to be stuck in middle Graceland for a while if they don't do anything.
Can
Interesting.
I
I
just
wasn't even
say,
thinking of
I think you're the only person I ever thought that Will Greer might be an answer.
that.
You've talked about that guy like 4 times on this show this year.
What's
He's not
wrong
even
with
the
Will Green?
backup.
He's still a rookie. I mean, like, there's promise in rookies who haven't played yet. Like he wasn't a bad player at West Virginia. He wasn't a bad quarterback, and I'm not saying he's going to be an all-star quarterback. I can't guarantee that, but he just hasn't played yet. And until you give the chance to see what he can actually do, I don't think if he had no preseason, he didn't have any play time, so it's tough. I mean, I think
He couldn't even beat out PJ Walker. So
Yeah.
I think that'll.
okay, but what
You're-
can be said about Homeboy in Green Bay, right? The first-round pick who never even dressed the entire year. It can be similar. I'm not saying that he's that kind of talent caliber, but some players just don't dress. They just sit them and they let them learn. And maybe Will Greer has
You get drafted in a spot for a reason. That's all I'm saying.
I
So
agree.
we're gonna write down this as a future bet. Kalen thinks that Will Greer is gonna have a better career than Jalen Love.
Oh my lord! Lord love, yeah.
That's all I heard.
Stop it.
You know,
Can I get odds on that? Cool bet. Where are you at?
yeah. I was gonna say, yeah. We'll talk to our friends over at Cool Bet. I bet you they'll come up with some nice book for us.
A nice prop bet there for us, huh?
Yeah. But yeah, we were talking a lot about rebuilding teams. I think a team, and I'm gonna switch sports. I should have let off at that. I'm gonna switch sports, and we're gonna talk about a team that also needs to rebuild because we've talked a lot about football. We've kind of ignored this for the last couple of weeks.
Okay.
What's going on with the Toronto Raptors?
What a far fall from grace. Is it blatantly obvious yet to the fans in Toronto that it was all Kawhi? I've been saying for years that Kyle Lowry ain't the answer. He's definitely not your closing dagger player. He had 16 points in the fourth quarter there the other game, and they didn't give him the ball to finish it because he's not a closer, right?
Yeah, but like while you're talking about Kawhi, like don't forget they didn't have Kawhi last year. They lost guys like Serge Ibaka and Marc Gasol, and those are the positions that they're missing right now. Is they don't have anybody inside. They have to rely on Siakam to be their scorer and their big man inside. And I got to tell you, like a guy that a strong gust of wind would blow away, that's not the big guy that I'm relying on the inside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, he had a triple double the other night, and I mean, he's okay. I have no problem with him.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna say he's overpaid because I think the NBA contracts I don't fully understand. Yeah, everyone's kind of overpaid, but
Yeah.
when it comes down to it, the Raptors they let Kawhi Leonard walk, and last year they were decent. I mean, they went into the second round of the playoffs. They lost in was it the final game to Boston?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To make it to the Eastern Conference Final, but they underestimated what losing Serge Ibaka and Marc Gasol would do. And in my opinion, I'm not an NBA expert by any means. I think that they tried to clear cap space. They wanted to go all in on this dude from Milwaukee, and he stayed.
Yeah. I think the problem with that too, though, was that he signed on and they still didn't make a move after that. I can deal as a Toronto fan. I can deal with you letting Gasol walk. He's not necessarily for him to be tight. Great. We need a center. Great. When they let Ibaka walk, that to me as a fan is signaling that you were letting the season go down the drain. You cannot compete with the other big name players, and we haven't even seen what Brooklyn can do because they haven't had Kyrie there to play yet. But they have
Another fucking messy story.
I love watching him burn in flames. When he left Boston the way that he did, I like seeing Brooklyn go down like that in the division. I feel terrible for KD, but they're not going to compete with teams like Philly. Think of the big men they have in Philadelphia. In Boston, you have a centerman in Taco Fall he's a rotational player, but you've got Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Those are big players that'll take any center to the rim, and you don't have anybody that can guard that kind of player in Toronto. You look at even the Knicks. They're going to have a problem with the Knicks this year. I feel that's disgusting when you have to say that.
The Knicks are good this year. I mean, they're a surprising team, and I think that they're getting better. Listen to me. I just sound like such an NBA expert. I've watched a lot of NBA this year. We're in lockdown. I watch 2 games a night. So yeah, that's a real thing. But I want to get Chad involved because Chad and I are kind of breaking into the NBA at the same time here. This year was kind of the year that we decided to get involved. If you like, I don't know if you're a Raptors fan. I know we're still kind of deciding teams to root for. I've kind of landed on Charlotte, but if you were a Raptors fan, would you want them to blow this season up? Do something similar to what Golden State did last year. I mean, Golden State their hands were forced with all the injuries, but they got the second overall pick. they got James Wiseman, who, in my opinion, should have been the first overall pick. The guy's 7'2" and still hasn't played his best ball. Would you want the Raptors to move on from Lowry, maybe get a first or second for him, and work in the draft, or what do you think?
I think as Toronto fans you should be used to this by now. Like no matter what sport it is, you got nothing but losers there. It's that simple.
Jesus.
Wow, you went in on him, eh? Woo!
Yeah.
As Toronto sports fans, you should be
says that
used
2
to
weeks
being
before he
stuck
moves
with a
out west.
bunch of losers. It's that simple.
Jeez, that's Terry Rozier on Kevin Durant right there.
Like I'm a baseball fan, and we made our run, and we got left out in the cold. And guess what?
Yep.
We sold the farm. We didn't have a choice. I have no problem when the Raptors went all in to get that roster. Well, guess what? Those years are done. Cut it out. Goodbye.
Yep.
Go back to who you are, and that's by being nothing but a bunch of losers and let your fan base down every single year. That's what being a Toronto sports fan is.
It's just so tough for the teams because it's a lottery in both hockey and basketball. They can go and suck and tank and everything, but they still may not even get that first and in basketball, it's really only the first 4 picks that really, really matter as far as talent goes, right? Everything else is depth. So it's always that risk running. I don't know. That'd be tough as a Toronto fan.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna give you the Joe Cool's clutch delivery of the week.
Oh, what are you gonna throw me?
Yeah.
I had one. I had a good one too. We may have to have a double delivery.
On
Was
Sunday,
it me throwing Toronto fans losers?
Yeah, honestly, that's gonna be a close second. But on Sunday when I text you, hey, Golden State's getting plus money on the money line, let's go get it. And we both threw money down on Golden State on the money line. For some reason, they had the Raptors favored in that game. And Chad and I said, no. And we went and threw that down on Coolbet, and that was the clutch delivery because they came through.
But did they win by 1 point? Was it 2 points or whatever? It was really close
they
game,
won
right?
by 1 point. Yeah,
they had to come back to win too, right? At some point, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, they sure
Paul
did.
Walker over here in the bottom corner, eh?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you never even had your car, Kalen.
Yeah. Well, if we're doing the delivery, I need to throw a delivery out there because it's something special that happened in the NBA this past week. 19-year-old kid getting a triple-double. He almost had a triple-double. It was LiAngelo Ball almost had a triple-double against his brother the night before. Don't know if you had the chance to watch that. The coach pulled him out with 2.5 minutes left. He needed one more assist in order to get that triple-double. The coach pulled him out and then sat him on the sideline to sub back in, but nobody would foul. Like his team wouldn't foul, so he couldn't get in until the 45 seconds left. He tried to put it past a really bad pass with 2 seconds left. Unfortunately, didn't get the triple-double. The following game gets the triple-double. He's the youngest to ever get it in the NBA at 19 years old. Finally, the Ball brother shows up. He's going to be the best one of the bunch.
Nice. Chad, do you have Joe Cool's clutch delivery?
No, I'm good.
You don't have to. You actually got a Joe Cool's delivery this week, so.
Yeah, I did. It was pretty clutch too.
And it was
peak and late.
clutch. Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. That's all I got, boys. I'll appreciate your time. Make sure that you're subscribing to the YouTube, like Chad said earlier today. Check out the website. And as Chad mentioned, we are absolutely hiring people to work on the website, but you do not get paid. So you should keep that in mind.
Neither do we though, so it's all good.
Yeah. We do not get paid either. We just do this for fun. So if you're a sports fan and you like to get your own opinions out there and you wanna give us some content, by all means, everything's welcome.
And go Bills.
There you go. Bills and Browns, AFC Championship. Here we come.
All right.
Cheers, guys.
Later.